There was a time when his smile could light up a room, when every movie poster with his face on it meant success. He was the man who turned charisma into currency, who could make the whole world laugh, cry, and dance, all in one lifetime. But then, something shifted. The same man who once defined cool found himself caught in a storm of public humiliation, lost choices, and fading glory. And when the music finally returned, it was not the triumphant sound of a comeback. It was a quiet echo of what once was. The world watched, confused. The laughter had turned to mockery. The question lingered in every corner of the internet. What happened to Will Smith? When the music video Pretty Girls appeared on Will Smith's YouTube channel, it should have been a celebration. A legend stepping back into the world he once owned. But instead, the world responded with uneasy laughter. The beat was cheerful, but the energy felt forced. The lyrics spoke of youth and flirtation, but the man singing them was far removed from the carefree energy that once defined him. Online comments turned brutal. Viewers called it awkward, out of touch, and a desperate attempt to reclaim lost magic. But beneath the ridicule, there was something deeper, an unease. The audience wasn't just laughing at a bad song. They were mourning a legend who no longer knew where he fit. It was as if the man who once sang, "Gettin' jiggy with it," was now trapped between eras, too old to play the youthful hero, yet too proud to embrace his evolution. Pretty Girls became a symbol not of revival, but of identity crisis. And as the views climbed, so did the whispers. Has Will forgotten who he is? Before Pretty Girls, Will released a strange music video called Interior Barber Hop. It wasn't about fame, success, or even music. It was about self-reflection. In it, he played multiple versions of himself, each debating his legacy. One man defended him, another mocked him, and yet another questioned everything he stood for. It was a surreal performance, one that seemed more honest than anything he'd done in years. But even then, no one in that room, not even the different versions of Will, dared to truly criticize him. The tension between ego and guilt was thick. The world could see it. This was not an artist in control. This was a man arguing with his own reflection. Each version of himself seemed to echo the same silent question. Is he still the hero he used to be, or has he become a parody of his past? And though the video tried to be artistic, it revealed something he never intended, a fracture. A man who once defined confidence now seemed unsure what kind of artist, or even what kind of man, he wanted to be. Years before this strange musical phase, Will had turned down some of Hollywood's biggest films, The Matrix, Django Unchained, and Inception. Choices that, in hindsight, haunt him. In a recent interview, he admitted he was offered a major role in Inception, the kind that could have redefined his legacy after the pursuit of happiness. But he said no at the time. He believed he was protecting his image. He wanted control, predictability, safety. Yet, those same instincts that once made him unstoppable slowly began to cage him. Inception became a symbol of missed evolution, the chance to grow as an artist, lost to fear and control. As younger actors took the risks he once avoided, Will's path began to look like a perfectly polished mirror, reflective but hollow. The man who once shaped culture was now trapped by the image he'd built. After the incident that nearly destroyed his reputation, Will retreated into safety. King Richard earned him an Oscar, but even that victory was drowned by controversy. The projects that followed were familiar: sequels, feel-good roles, carefully chosen scripts with moral lessons. Every move felt like an apology, not a step forward. But safety is rarely art. The same man who once commanded global box offices now seemed trapped in the shadows of his own fear. Critics began to notice that his choices lacked danger, risk, or raw emotion. He had become a master of self-censorship, editing his soul for public approval. Even when he tried to open up through music, it felt like he was circling his pain rather than facing it. The songs were polished, but hollow, controlled, but empty. The man who once took over the world with charm now struggled to sound human. Hollywood has a cruel habit. It worships youth, then punishes those who dare to age. Will Smith was once the embodiment of youth, energy, charisma, rebellion. But time moved on. The world changed. And while his fans grew older with him, his art did not. In Pretty Girls, he tries to dance with the same swagger he had in Miami, but the illusion cracks. The internet doesn't see a confident superstar anymore. They see a man desperately clinging to an old reflection. And perhaps that's what hurts the most. Will isn't hated. He's pitted. The legend who once ruled summer blockbusters now looks like he's fighting against the clock itself. But what if the real path forward isn't pretending to be young again, but learning how to age with power? That question, unanswered, is what keeps his legacy suspended between greatness and decay. For a moment, the world stood still. Millions watched as the man once known for charm and laughter transformed into something unrecognizable. The sound of that slap echoed louder than any line he had ever spoken on screen. It wasn't just a moment of anger. It was a fracture in a carefully built image that had taken decades to perfect. Overnight, the symbol of Hollywood grace became a reminder of how quickly control can vanish. In interviews and speeches that followed, he tried to apologize, to explain, to move forward. But the world had already decided. This was the fall of a hero. His words sounded practiced, his smile forced. Every public appearance became a test of whether he could still be trusted. Yet beneath the scandal, there was something deeply human, a man suffocating under the weight of perfection. The world saw arrogance, but what lingered behind his eyes was exhaustion. The truth is, the slap was never about anger alone. It was the breaking point of a man who had spent his life trying to be flawless in a world that demands cracks that in the years that followed, will try to rebuild. He turned inward, spoke of healing, and posted videos about transformation. But legacy is not repaired by words. It is rebuilt through time and truth. His fans were torn between forgiveness and disbelief. How could the same man who once taught the world about love, family, and perseverance lose himself so completely? The answer may lie in what fame takes from a person. For decades, Will Smith was more than an actor. He was a brand, a myth. Every smile, every word, every performance was part of a system that demanded control. But when control became his identity, authenticity died quietly in the background. Now, his challenge is no longer winning awards or box office numbers. It is about rediscovering the man behind the mask. Because no matter how many roles he plays, there is only one story the world truly wants. The story of how he finds himself again. Pretty Girls was supposed to be harmless, a lighthearted reminder of who he used to be. Instead, it became evidence of something sadder. Audiences didn't see fun, they saw confusion. The same energy that once made him magnetic now felt misplaced, like a man dancing to a rhythm the world had long moved past. But beneath the mockery lies a truth that few want to admit. Will Smith's struggle is not unique. It's the quiet panic that grips every star when the world stops needing them. It's the fight to stay seen, to stay important, in a digital age that moves faster than human emotion. And while the song might have been tone-deaf, its very existence says something powerful. It shows a man unwilling to fade quietly, still searching for the spark that once made the world listen. Maybe the problem isn't that he tried. Maybe it's that he doesn't yet know who he's trying to be. Behind every performance, every apology, and every song lies the one thing he still avoids: truth. His recent music dances around pain without ever naming it. His films deliver lessons, but rarely vulnerability. It is as if he's afraid of being seen completely, afraid of the chaos that comes with honesty. Yet, that honesty might be the only thing that could save him. The audience doesn't need another superhero or charming father figure. They need to see the man who has fallen, bled, and learned. They need to hear his voice tremble, to feel the weight of his regret. Because authenticity, not perfection, is what the world craves now. If Will Smith can find the courage to let go of his own myth, to let the cracks show, he may finally become greater than the image he spent his life protecting. In the end, the story of Will Smith is not one of destruction, but of transformation waiting to happen. His fall was loud, public, and unforgettable. But every fall offers a choice: to break completely or to rebuild stronger, stripped of illusion. The world has already seen his victories. What it waits for now is his truth. The next chapter of his life will not be written in awards or hit singles. It will be written in humility, in the roles he dares to take, in the words he finally chooses to speak, and in the silence where he stops performing. Maybe his music will never top charts again. Maybe his movies will never shatter records. But if he finds a way to stand on screen, not as Will Smith the icon, But as Will Smith the man, then, and only then, the legend might rise again. Because sometimes, the most powerful comeback isn't the one the world sees. It's the one that happens quietly, deep inside the soul of the man who refuses to give up.